a club that are fighting for promotion to the Premier League in Leicester City, and they've been making headlines in the Times this evening on tomorrow morning's paper. Leicester, we will go to court. I mean, this has suddenly got really quite feisty, hasn't it? It seems like Leicester now the latest club to come under scrutiny. We know what's happened with Everton and Nottingham Forest, but they're the first club who aren't currently playing in the division, Jonathan, who the Premier League believe they are in breach. But Leicester, very, very robust in their response today, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, talking about illegal sanctions and things like that. I mean, Leicester were part of the Premier League when these rules were adopted. They bear their responsibility for implementing those rules, and it does seem to me, I don't know, just a really kind of unprofessional, slightly childish way of going about things to come out so strongly against rules that they helped to craft and they helped to implement. Obviously, I feel sorry for Leicester fans, and I feel more sorry for Leicester's rivals in the Championship. Say you got beaten by a goal by Jamie Vardy, or you come up against Yannick Vestergaard or Wout Faes, players who allegedly Leicester should not have been able to afford, and look like they're going to get them promoted back to the Premier League. So I think for all of the sabre rattling from Leicester, there is a very simple, at the risk of sounding glib, there's a very simple way to avoid being sanctioned for not filing your audited accounts on time, and that is to file your audited accounts on time. Like, there is obviously a hell of a lot more to come out here, but the fact that we still haven't seen the accounts, and the Premier League still haven't had a chance to adjudicate on what's actually in them, if as is quite plausible, there are substantial rule-breaking losses in those accounts as well. So people are saying this could drag on till summer, and Leicester could start in the Premier League with minus points. I think they're going to start with 0 points, and this thing is going to be dragging on well into the new season.
Just also looking at that I think it was in the Telegraph, wasn't it, that last paper that we showed with the word unlawful as far as Leicester are concerned. I mean, first of all, Charlie, do you agree with Jonathan, or do you feel they have a right to feel this outraged about this? What's your take?
Well, they haven't filed their accounts on time. They should have done it by March. Had they been in the Premier League, it would have been December. So they've not done that part. So the Premier League is. They're applying the rules. Obviously, Leicester at this stage have been very aggressive in their language, and it looks as though they could be prepared, to take the legal route. And I agree with Jonathan. I think they'll start the season on 0, and it will drag on into September, October. But it looks as though they'll probably get 6 points. I think Leicester will get promoted this season. I know they're having a bit of a blip, and it's become quite close at the top of the Championship, but I still think they've got the squad and the players to go up. So it's going to be a problem for them in the Premier League. Clubs signed up for the rules. I know Leicester did not sign up for this slight tweak, but they were there beforehand. So I'm struggling to have too much sympathy with clubs that spend far too much on players. And I know there's the argument saying that, well, clubs should be allowed to be ambitious, and of course, Leicester are the best example of that when they won the league. Equally, they had financial fair play issues decades ago as well, which they had to sort out. So they've previously had form for it, and ultimately clubs. No one's forcing clubs to spend a huge amount of money on players.
Jonathan, what do you think this whole situation does to, I suppose, the brand of the Premier League, and also the direction the story is taking generally? When we look at what's happened with Everton, the points deduction, the reduced points deduction, Nottingham Forest suffering with theirs, Leicester now, this could go on. And obviously, we're in the middle of a really compelling season, top and bottom of the league. But ultimately, do you think, well, that's OK if ultimately the main and the right decisions are taken, keeping clubs in check and the reins, firmly applied here?
Well, I mean, it is hugely damaging to the brand of the Premier League. It is just not a good look, and it is not satisfying to anyone when things like titles or relegations or Premier League placings are being relitigated months or in the case of Manchester City, perhaps even years after the fact of the alleged offences that have occurred. What happens in La Liga, which I think is a much superior system, is that your expenses and your budgets are tracked in real time And the league tells you before each transfer window what you are allowed to spend on transfers and wages in that transfer window to avoid going on the limit. If you're near the limit, you physically are not allowed to spend that money. And I think that is far more preferable than this kind of hindsight regulation that we have here with the Premier League, where clubs are basically almost being encouraged to push the boundaries as far as they can and then try and litigate them later, which is essentially what we're seeing. But that's because Premier League was too slow to regulate, and that in turn is because the Premier League clubs wanted a free-for-all. They wanted to have the freedom to buy and sell and invest as they saw fit. And now the league as a whole and the product is paying the price for essentially a regulatory system that is being cooked up on the hoof. It's not corrupt, it's just incompetent.
Yeah, and that example you quote there of La Liga, I suppose prevention rather than ultimately punishment, which is what the clubs are seeing right now. You do wonder how that might impact transfer windows going forward, this summer coming and then subsequent transfer windows.